We canceled our daughter's life to make her a slave for her siblings. 2 years after she went no contact, our golden kids have destroyed our house and stolen our retirement, while our daughter refuses to even send $1 to save us from the streets. My daughter has a 3-bedroom house with a backyard and a garden and a dog named Clover. I know because my niece showed me photos. She has a fireplace, bookshelves built into the wall, a kitchen with an island. She cooks now. Real meals. Things with herbs and garlic and wine in the sauce. She travels. She went to Portugal last fall. She has friends I've never met. She has a life that is full and beautiful and completely closed to me. I'm writing this from my sister's basement. My husband Lyle is upstairs asleep on a pull-out couch. We've been here for 4 months. Our house is gone. Our retirement is gone. Our savings are gone. The 3 children we sacrificed our daughter for have taken everything from us and given nothing back. And the one child who could save us. The one who has the money. The job. The house. The stability. She won't return a phone call. She won't open a letter. She won't send $1. I don't blame her. That's the thing that keeps me up at night. I don't blame her. I understand exactly why she won't help. Because for 22 years I taught her that her purpose was to serve this family. And now she's finally learned that her purpose is to serve herself. My name is Connie. I'm 56. Let me tell you what I did to my daughter. All of it. Without the version I've been telling myself. Without the version I told Lyle. Without the version I told our church and our friends and my sister whose basement I'm sleeping in. The real version. The ugly one. The one that bought a 3-bedroom house for a girl who used to sleep in a room the size of a closet. We had 4 children. Odessa came first. Then the twins Marlon and Cody 18 months later. Then the baby Ren 4 years after that. 4 children. 1 income for most of it. Lyle drove trucks. Long haul. Gone for days at a time. I worked part-time at the medical office. We made it work the way poor people make everything work. Barely. Odessa was the oldest. She was responsible from birth. The kind of child who cleaned up after herself before anyone asked. Who remembered things. Who handled things. Who watched how adults operated and mirrored it at 4 years old. Teachers loved her. She was quiet. Organized. She turned in homework early. She helped other kids without being asked. She was the child every tired parent prays for. Easy. Low maintenance. Self-sufficient. We took advantage of that. I'll say it plainly because dressing it up would be another lie. We took advantage of our daughter's nature. We saw that she was capable, and instead of rewarding that capability, we exploited it. When the twins were born, Odessa was 18 months old. Barely walking. But by the time she was 3 and the twins were 18 months, I was already saying, Odessa, watch your brothers while I make dinner. She was 3. Watching 2 toddlers? Because she was capable. And capable children get responsibilities instead of childhoods. By 5 she was fetching diapers. By 6 she was heating bottles in the microwave. By 7 she was dressing the twins for school. By 8 she was packing lunches. 3 lunches. Not hers. Theirs. She packed her own too, but that came last. Always last. Her lunch was whatever was left after Marlon and Cody had their sandwiches made with the good bread and the name brand chips. By 9 Odessa was a second parent. Not figuratively. Literally. She woke the twins up in the morning. She made sure they brushed their teeth. She walked them to the bus stop. She picked them up after school. She supervised homework. She mediated fights. She heated up dinner on the nights I worked late. She bathed Ren, who was 5 and still needed help, in the tub. She was 9 years old, running a household operation that most adults would struggle with. And Lyle and I let her. We let her because she was good at it. Because she never complained. Because every time we put something on her plate she ate it without making a face. We told ourselves it was good for her. Building character. Teaching responsibility. We said, she's mature for her age. She's a natural caretaker. We said all the things parents say when they're using a child and don't want to admit it. The twins. Marlon and Cody. Let me tell you what we created. Because Odessa handled everything, the twins handled nothing. They never learned to clean. They never learned to cook. They never learned to manage their own time or their own belongings or their own emotions. They had a 9-year-old doing it for them. Then a 12-year-old. Then a 15-year-old. Then an 18-year-old. Marlon broke things. Constantly. Toys. Furniture. Doors. He punched a wall at 13 and I said, boys will be boys. He failed 3 classes in 8th grade and I said, he's just not academic. He stole money from my purse at 15 and I said, he's going through a phase. He crashed Lyle's truck at 17 without a license, and I said, at least nobody was hurt. Every mess Marlon made, Odessa cleaned. Not metaphorically. Actually. She cleaned the wall he punched. She organized his school papers. She found the missing money and said nothing. She was the silent infrastructure that kept Marlon's chaos from collapsing the house. Cody was different. Not destructive. Manipulative. He learned early that crying got him what he wanted. That telling Odessa he was hungry meant she'd make him food even at 11 p.m. That saying he was scared meant she'd stay up with him. That acting helpless meant she'd do his homework. He didn't break things. He outsourced everything to his sister and called it love. Ren was the baby. She was fine. Not a monster. Not manipulative. Just entitled by default because by the time she arrived there was a fully operational teenage girl running the house and Ren assumed that's how life worked. Someone older handles everything. You just show up. Odessa's childhood? I need to account for it. Because it's the evidence. She didn't have extracurriculars. There was no time. She came straight home from school to babysit. She didn't go to birthday parties. She was watching the kids. She didn't have sleepovers. Somebody had to be home when Lyle was on the road and I worked evenings. She asked once. 11 years old. She said, Mom, can I join the art club at school? They meet on Wednesdays after school until 4:30. I said, who's going to watch the boys? She said, can't they go to after-school care? I said, that costs $40 a week per kid. We can't afford that. She said, it's just 1 day a week. 1 day. I said, Odessa. We need you here. The family needs you. Be mature about this. Be mature about this. Said to an 11-year-old who wanted to draw for 90 minutes on Wednesdays. I told her to be mature about giving up the one thing she asked for. Because $80 a week in childcare was too expensive, but her entire adolescence was free. She didn't ask again. Not for art club. Not for anything. She learned the lesson every parentified child learns. Asking for things leads to guilt. Guilt feels worse than wanting. So you stop wanting. Odessa was 14. She cooked dinner 5 nights a week. She cleaned the house on Saturdays. She did everyone's laundry. She helped Ren with reading homework. She managed the twins' school schedules. She ironed Lyle's shirts when he was home. She was 14 and running a household, and we called her a good daughter. Not a good child. A good daughter. The kind of language that ties a girl's worth to her service. That teaches her that love is earned through labor. That her value is measured in what she produces for others. I know this now. I didn't know it then. Or I did know it and I chose not to think about it because thinking about it would have meant changing it, and changing it would have cost me the free labor I'd built my life around. Odessa was 16. Report cards came home. She had a 3.9 GPA. Highest in the house. The twins were at 2.1 and 1.8. Ren was average. Odessa earned that 3.9 while cooking 5 dinners a week and doing 6 people's laundry and running a house. I said, great job, Odessa. She said, thanks. I said, you know what would help the twins? If you could tutor them a few nights a week. Get their grades up. She looked at me. 16 years old. Already stretched thinner than any adult I knew. And I was adding tutoring to her workload because the children I never parented couldn't manage a 2.0. She said, okay. She tutored them. 3 nights a week. After cooking dinner. After cleaning the kitchen. After putting Ren to bed. She sat at the table with Marlon and Cody and walked them through assignments they should have been able to do themselves if anyone had ever taught them to try. Marlon's grades went up to 2.4. Cody's to 2.3. We praised the twins. We said, see? You guys are getting it. We didn't praise Odessa. Because praising her meant acknowledging that she was the reason. And acknowledging that meant admitting we'd failed them. Odessa was 18. She graduated. Top of her class. Full scholarship to a state university. Nursing program. She got in on her own. No prep courses. No tutors. No SAT camp. No parents writing essays with her at midnight. She did it between making dinners and doing laundry and keeping 2 teenage boys from failing out of school. The night before she was supposed to leave for college, Lyle sat her down at the kitchen table. He said, Odessa. We need to talk. She said, okay. He said, your mother and I have been talking. Ren is 12. The twins are 16. I'm on the road most of the time. Your mother can't manage everything alone. Odessa looked at him. Then at me. I was standing by the fridge. I couldn't look at her. He said, we think you should defer for a year. Stay home. Help out. Let the twins finish high school. Once they graduate, you can go. Defer. A year. Her scholarship. Her escape. Her one chance to have a life that wasn't built around serving us. And we asked her to put it on hold. For a year. For children who should have been able to microwave their own dinner by then. She said, if I defer, I might lose the scholarship. Lyle said, you can reapply. She said, I earned that scholarship now. Not next year. Now. I said, Odessa. The family needs you. Just one more year. You've been so helpful. We can't do this without you. She looked at me. And I saw something I'd never seen from Odessa. Not anger. Not sadness. Not the resignation I was used to. Disgust. Pure concentrated disgust. The face of a person who has just realized that the people who were supposed to love her unconditionally have only ever loved her conditionally. And the condition was service. She said, you've never been able to do it without me. That's the problem. You had 4 children and you raised one of them to raise the other 3. And now you want me to defer my future so I can keep doing your job. I said, Odessa, that's not fair. She said, fair. You want to talk about fair? I haven't had a birthday party since I was 7 because someone had to watch the kids. I haven't been to a sleepover in my life. I didn't join art club. I didn't go to homecoming. I didn't go to prom because Ren had a fever and somebody had to stay home. I cooked 5,000 meals in this house and I've never once picked what we're having because I always made what the twins wanted so they wouldn't complain. I've been raising your children since I was 9 years old. And you're asking me to defer my scholarship. My one chance. For one more year of the same thing. Lyle said, you're being dramatic. She said, I'm being honest for the first time in my life. And you can't tell the difference because you've never heard it from me before. She left for college the next morning. On time. On schedule. With the scholarship intact. She packed her car at 5 a.m. before anyone was awake. She didn't say goodbye to the twins. She didn't wake Ren. She left a note on the kitchen table. The note said, I love you all. But I can't stay here and keep being the person who holds everything together while nobody holds anything for me. Please don't ask me to come back for holidays until you can invite me as a daughter and not as staff. Invite me as a daughter and not as staff. My 18-year-old wrote that. On a piece of notebook paper. On the kitchen table where she'd served 1,000 dinners. And left. The house fell apart in 3 months. Without Odessa, the infrastructure collapsed. The twins couldn't cook. Couldn't clean. Couldn't manage their own schedules. Marlon failed 2 classes in his junior year. Cody stopped doing homework entirely. Ren started acting out because nobody was helping her with school and nobody was putting her to bed on time. I scrambled. I cut my hours at work. Lyle started coming home more. We tried to do what Odessa had been doing. We lasted 6 weeks before the screaming started. The fights. The dishes piling up. The bills falling behind because I was working less. We called Odessa. I said, the house is falling apart. She said, I know. I said, can you come home for a weekend and help us get organized? She said, no. I said, Odessa, please. She said, Mom. I spent 18 years organizing that house. It's your turn. She hung up. She was 19. And she was done. The twins graduated high school. Barely. Marlon got a warehouse job. Lasted 4 months. Got fired for attendance. Got another job. Lasted 3 months. Pattern established. Cody moved in with a girlfriend. Broke up. Moved back home. Got a job delivering packages. Quit after 2 months because the hours were hard. He said, why would I work that schedule for $17 an hour? They moved back in. Both of them. 20 years old. Living in their childhood bedrooms. Unemployed more than employed. Contributing nothing. Consuming everything. Marlon started borrowing money. First from me. $200 here. $500 there. Then from Lyle's retirement account. Lyle gave him $8,000 over 2 years. For rent that didn't exist. For a car payment on a car he totaled. For an apartment deposit he never moved into. Cody found the retirement account login. I still don't know how. He transferred $14,600 to his personal account over 7 months. Small amounts. $800. $1,200. $2,000. By the time we noticed, the account was nearly empty. Our retirement. $147,000 built over 30 years of Lyle driving trucks and me working at the medical office and Odessa making dinners and doing laundry and saving us the cost of childcare for 15 years. $147,000. Marlon took $8,000 directly. Cody stole $14,600. The rest we'd been draining ourselves to cover the twins' expenses because they couldn't hold jobs and we couldn't let them go homeless because they were our children and our children weren't equipped for life because we'd never equipped them. We'd outsourced their development to their older sister and when she left they had nothing. No skills. No discipline. No ability to sustain themselves. The house. Marlon and Cody destroyed it over 2 years. Not on purpose. Through neglect and carelessness. Holes in walls. Stains on carpets. Broken appliances that nobody fixed because nobody knew how. The garbage disposal. The dishwasher. The back fence. Things Odessa would have handled or arranged to be handled because Odessa handled everything. Lyle couldn't keep up with repairs on a truck driver's schedule. I couldn't afford them on a part-time salary. The house deteriorated. Code violations piled up. We got a notice from the city. Fix or face fines. We couldn't fix. The fines came. We couldn't pay. A lien was placed. We couldn't clear it. We lost the house. Not to a bank. To accumulated failure. To years of deferred maintenance and 2 adult children living in it like tenants who didn't pay rent and didn't clean and didn't care. Ren. 20 now. She moved out at 18. Lives with a roommate. Works at a coffee shop. She's not destructive. She's not a thief. She's just adrift. Underprepared. She calls sometimes. She says, "Mom, I don't know how to do my taxes. Mom, I don't know how to make a doctor's appointment. Mom, I don't know how to cook anything that doesn't come from a box." Because her sister used to do all of that. And when her sister left, nobody taught Ren how to live. We just expected her to figure it out the way we expected Odessa to figure it out at 9. Except Odessa was exceptional. And Ren is average. And average kids need parents. And we were too busy managing the wreckage of our other failures to parent the one child who still needed us. I called Odessa. 2 years after she'd stopped answering. I left a voicemail. I said, "Odessa. We've lost the house. Dad and I are staying with my sister. The retirement is gone. Marlon and Cody drained it. I need help. Anything. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to help me survive." She didn't call back. I called again. Same voicemail. I said, "Odessa. Please. I know I failed you. I know we asked too much. I know you deserved better. But I'm your mother. And I'm about to be on the street." She didn't call back. I wrote a letter. Sent it to the address my niece found. 3 pages. I said everything. The art club. The scholarship deferral. The birthday parties she missed. The prom she skipped. The 5,000 dinners. I said, "I'm sorry. For all of it. I was wrong. I used you. I put the family on your back and I called it love and it wasn't love. It was labor. And you were a child." 2 weeks later the letter came back. Not returned to sender. Not unopened. She'd opened it. She wrote 4 words on the outside of the envelope in black ink and sent it back. "Not your staff anymore." 4 words. On an envelope. In the handwriting I recognized because I watched her write grocery lists at 10 years old. My niece talked to her once. She said, "Aunt Connie lost the house." Odessa said, "I know." My niece said, "She needs help." Odessa said, "She has Marlon and Cody. They can help her the way she always expected me to." My niece said, "Odessa, they can barely take care of themselves." Odessa said, "That's not my problem. It stopped being my problem the day I packed my car at 5 a.m. My niece said, "She's your mother." Odessa said, "She was my employer. I quit. And I don't owe severance." She was my employer. I quit. I don't owe severance. My daughter described our relationship in workforce terms. Mother-daughter reduced to employer-employee. Because that's what it was. I hired a child at 9 years old. Paid her in guilt and obligation. Worked her for 13 years. And when she resigned I tried to guilt her into 1 more year. Marlon is 23. He's couch surfing at a friend's place. No job. No savings. No plan. The boy whose wall punches I excused and whose stolen money I overlooked. He asked me for $200 last week. I said, "Marlon, I don't have $200. I'm living in my sister's basement." He said, "Can you ask Aunt Pauline?" He's asking me to ask my sister for money. In the basement his behavior put me in. Cody is 23. Same situation. Different couch. He called Lyle last month and said, "Dad, can you lend me $500 for a security deposit?" Lyle said, "Cody, you stole $14,600 from my retirement account. You have $500. You stole it. Cody hung up. These are the golden children. The ones I protected. The ones I made Odessa serve. The ones I prioritized over the daughter who cooked and cleaned and tutored and managed and sacrificed so they could have a childhood she never got. And what did they do with that childhood? Nothing. They did absolutely nothing? Because I never taught them to do anything. Because Odessa was doing it all. And when she left, the machine stopped and nobody knew how to start it again. My sister sat me down last week. She said, Connie, I love you. You can stay as long as you need. But I need to say something and I need you to hear it. She said, you had one exceptional child. One. And you used her like a utility? You plugged her into every broken part of that house and you ran her until she burned out. And the other three? The ones you protected from responsibility. They are exactly what you made them. Helpless. Entitled. Dependent. You raised one adult and 3 permanent children. And the adult left. Because you gave her every reason to. I said, I know. She said, Odessa's house. The garden. The dog. Portugal. All of it. That's not spite. That's relief. She's not living well to punish you. She's living well because for the first time in her life nobody is asking her to set herself on fire to keep someone else warm. Set herself on fire to keep someone else warm? That's what I asked of my daughter. For 13 years. And she did it. Without complaint. Without recognition. Without a single birthday party after age 7. My niece showed me one more photo of Odessa's house. The kitchen. On the counter there was a small framed painting. Watercolor. Flowers and trees and a sunset. The kind of thing you'd see from a kid in an after-school art club. She painted it. My niece said Odessa took up art 2 years ago. Watercolors. She takes a class on Wednesday evenings. The same day art club met at her middle school. The day I said no because $80 a week in childcare was too much but my daughter's entire childhood was free. She's painting now. On Wednesdays. At 24. The hobby I denied her at 11. She got it back. Without me. Lyle and I are looking for an apartment. Something small. Something we can afford on his pension and my part-time salary. The numbers are tight. The options are bad. The future is a 1-bedroom somewhere far from the house we lost and the daughter we drove away and the 3 children who consumed everything and produced nothing. Odessa has a fireplace. A garden. A dog named Clover. She cooks with herbs and garlic and wine in the sauce. She went to Portugal. She paints on Wednesdays. I have a pull-out couch in my sister's basement and a letter that came back with 4 words on the envelope. Not your staff anymore. That letter is on the nightstand next to the pull-out couch. I read it every morning. Not because I hope the words will change. Because I need to remember what they mean. I had a daughter. I turned her into an employee. I ran her for 13 years. She quit. She built a life. And I'm in a basement. She's not punishing me. She's just not saving me. And for the first time in her life she doesn't have to.